Hi everyone, I'm Ben Coleman, CEO of Performa IT, and today I'm joined by Tom Allchurch from ActionCoach Stroud. Thanks for being with us today, Tom.
Pleasure.
So just before we get into the questions today, I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit about your career and a bit about ActionCoach and what you do.
Right, okay. So you want me to start by talking about my favourite subject, me. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay, so my background is I'm a mining engineer. I started working post-university in 1985, worked for other people for 13 years, then started a mining business by buying an open cast coal mine from my employers. They were wanting to sell it, so I found some private equity backing to buy the mine. On day one, there were three of us and a green field, and we grew that business over 10 years to 6 operations, 500 people, about £75 million of sales. 6 years in, we listed it on the London Stock Exchange, the AIM market. And I stayed with that business for 12 years. And then I left and went back to a private equity backed business, having bought a small part of the original business out. And we spent 5 years trying to develop that until the coal industry pretty spectacularly closed in 2015. And I did a few things after that around angel investment, which didn't really work out, and went back to coaching. I've always profiled as a coach. I trained as a coach in 2006, I think, 2006-7. Trained as a coach. Then went back to coaching, tried to do it on my own for a little while, and then COVID hit, and I thought, no, I need some support around this. So I got involved with ActionCoach and bought an ActionCoach franchise. Shortly after that, you and I met, and I coach probably 15, 16 people at the moment, one-to-one, 3 people in group. And fundamentally, what's the purpose of coaching? Well, it's to help a business owner get clear on where they're going, get clear on their goals, and to provide the elements that the business owner requires, whatever they might be, to get them to their goals, to help them achieve their goals. So, sometimes that's support, sometimes that's challenge, often it's just a conversation to help them find the clarity around the things that they're thinking about, and a big chunk of accountability to get them to do what they say they're going to do. So that's kind of what I do in coaching.
As a business coach, what are some of the most common challenges your clients are facing?
I think right now, and maybe for the last 6 or 9 months, we've seen the business environment tightening up. I think what we're seeing is we've seen a bit of a loss of confidence in the market, combined in many markets, combined with a tightening up of discretionary spend, which I think is a function of the inflation that we saw in 22-23, the increase in interest rates affecting people's mortgages, and most people have now remortgaged and their disposable income's gone down. And I think we're starting to see the effects of that through large elements of business. So mixture of confidence and less disposable income in people's pockets. So I think if you look around now, if you just look on your social media, just look at the number of hotels and restaurants and tourist-related businesses that are pumping out adverts on social media that weren't doing that 12 months ago. Look at prices for hotels, and prices are down. I don't think the business is there as much as it was, and I think that's reflecting through in lots of areas of business. It's things have tightened up, so it's not as easy to win business now as it was maybe a year, 2 years ago. That's my perception.
How do you advise clients in navigating uncertainty such as economic fluctuations or rapid industry changes?
It's a good question. I think at the heart of changes in business, whatever the environment is, whatever's going on for us, In pure coaching terms, I'm thinking about Stephen Covey, E plus R equals O, basic formula. So, the event takes place. The outcome is determined by our reaction to it, our response to the event. So it doesn't really matter what the market conditions are, it's what we as business owners choose to do about that that's important. So when you then strip that back to any business, I think the key to any business is it's got to understand what problem it is solving for its clients and how it's, or its customers, and how it's adding value to those customers. And at its most basic level, if a business is not solving a problem that adds value to its customer, it has no purpose. It doesn't exist. So I think we can often get a little bit carried away, particularly in boom times. This is all great, we're great, etc., etc. As things tighten up, it's really important to understand what is the problem we're solving, and how does that add value, and how can we focus our marketing and our marketing messages and our sales activity around those messages, around that subject. So for me, I think whatever the market's the market circumstances are, they're the same for everybody. So for me, our clients need to be operating better than the average, better than the norm, and to do that they need to be very clear about their message, adapt their message to the market, to the local circumstances, be they time or whatever, but get very clear about how are they adding value, what's the problem they're solving, and just work on communicating that out to as many people as they can, existing customers, new prospects, whatever that might be. It's always easier to sell to people who already know and like you. So, an obvious question is, are all your customers aware of all of the things that you do? And in most cases, the answer to that would be no, because you've solved a problem for them, but they don't know what other problems you're solving. So how can we adapt our marketing, more directly with our existing customers to go and look at what we know about their business, what we know about the problems we're solving, what we know about the value that we're adding. How can we go more directly to them and make them aware of that? So, what are the services we provide to different people? What are the customers? Put that into a matrix, have a look at where the gaps are, and then market to those gaps, but market very directly, very targeted to those gaps. And I think, again, that word targeting comes back into the principle of, if we know what problem we're solving and where we add value, then we can target our marketing at people who have that problem, and that then saves us a whole load of wasted time and effort. We can get focused, and if we're focused and we're targeting that way, we're more likely to get a healthy response than an unhealthy response.
Yeah. So would you say at the moment a lot of your clients, are they thinking more about sales and marketing in general than other parts of their business perhaps?
I think there's always a mixture. A number of clients are very much around marketing, sales. How do I grow my business? A couple are working through, trying to understand what their value proposition is and trying to get clear on that. A couple are working on trying to evolve their business to cope with the level of business that they've already won. They've gone through growth, and then it's got out of hand. So, business might have got out of hand. So we're in the process of, okay, what systems do we need to put in? What training do we need to to develop? So that's more internal stuff. So it's always a mixed bag with a bag of clients. It's always a mixed bag. Some are sales and marketing focused entirely, and some are, how do I fix this within the business?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting. So even in a challenging market, there's still people who are, absolutely flying.
Yeah, yeah. One client is hugely benefiting from recent change in government policy around wind farms, and that's a wave for them to catch and ride. For the next 4.5, 5 years. Great, brilliant.
Yeah,
you know, that's in mining terms, fill your boots. um, lots of businesses are different. They're all in different places, different situations. But some are not having to try very hard, and it's coming at them in terms of sales and marketing. Some are having to try very hard, and it isn't coming at them as they would like. And we've got to work out, why isn't that happening, and just keep, tweaking and trying things, but get as direct as we can in terms of our targeting and our messaging is what I'm always thinking about.
yeah, yeah. And would you say there's any difference? Because I know you coach on mindset as well. Is there any kind of difference that you're noticing in what your clients want from you at this time?
I think, I think for me, there is a slight difference of the level of challenge and support that's required around confidence in the market, and it comes back to, well, the market is what the market is. So how do we do what we can do to the best of our ability to try and move forward, and having a negative view of the market is not helpful, because it tends to lead to procrastination. So once you get through to this level of thinking of back to Stephen Covey, um, the event is what the event is. The market is what the market is. What will determine the outcome is our reaction to it. It's what we do. It's how we respond to that. Another coach I've worked with would say it's our responsibility. It's our respondability. It's our ability to respond to whatever the circumstances are that will develop, which will determine whether we're a success or we're not a success. Once we get into that mindset, then we're thinking about, okay, market might have tightened up, but we can do something about it. It's I think one of the dangers in a tightening market is not joining a race to the bottom on pricing.
Yeah.
Not that's a huge danger.
Yeah.
And that comes back to thinking about, okay, well, specifically what's the problem we're solving, and how are we adding value. And as an SME, and mostly I'm coaching SMEs, a race to the bottom is normally a race you'll lose against bigger companies. So how do we work on our niche? What is our niche? How do we work on that, focus on that, develop our value add, and keep helping our clients, our customers, solve their problems.
Yeah.
So I think I would never ever encourage a client to things are tightening up, let's cut prices. I'd be starting to think about, okay, how do we solve problems in a better way that adds more value to the client,
Yeah.
and moves them forward, and we win as well.
Yeah. So differentiation.
Differentiation,
Yeah.
definitely. Don't join a race to the bottom.
No. Agreed.
It's a spiral of descent that you're not coming out of that.
No. So, Tom, what role do you see AI playing in the future of your clients' businesses?
I think it's mixed. I think in your business, it's going to be a huge part of your business, and you can talk better about that than I ever could. I think some of my clients who are more traditional engineering type businesses, they might use it a little bit around the administrative fringe of their business, and I would envisage that over time more specific AI-driven products will come out to solve problems that they've got, which will help them. But in the short term, they probably won't use it a lot. Some clients have already had a dabble with it around marketing and content and that side of things. as have I, and I'm beginning to think that the amount of AI-driven content is overloading social media marketing, and that's having a negative impact. But I think a few have had a play with that. One in particular is starting to use it for quite serious business review processes, assessing large tenders and that sort of things for its clients, and trying to train it to be more effective than a person, and is having some success with that. And it's all about the questions and prompts that you're asking. So there's success in that area developing. So I think it depends on the client. Some are trying to be early adopters and trying to make their business better on the back of it, and getting it to do a lot of back office work for them. And others will be, testing the water and probably waiting for more specific products suitable to their business to come out.
We spoke earlier about the market conditions being challenging, as some people say. Do you think that's making people think more around AI and efficiency, trying to reduce their costs or do more with less?
Yeah, for me, in the UK at the moment, I'm thinking, okay, market conditions are challenging. We have increased employment costs, coming at us over the next few months, and increased employment legislation coming at us maybe next year, tightening employment legislation, and all of that kind of says, okay, how could we use AI to do more and not hire as many people, or get people to be more efficient through using some of the AI tools. So for me as an engineer, I just see it as a similar approach to, if you're able to buy a machine and take out 2 employment roles in the business, you've got a straightforward investment decision to make there. And I think AI is going to become the technical version of that. How can we use this to save labour? In growing businesses, that's great. We might not actually have to take labour out. We might just be able to do a lot more with it, which means we don't have to hire more people. And in other businesses, AI will come in, and I think you've got good examples with your clients of this, that AI can come in and save a lot of labour and significantly reduce costs in sizable businesses. So I think the scale of the business is kind of important, and is the business quite a practical, hands-on business, in which case AI is in the back office. How do we make it more efficient? But if the business is quite technically orientated, is running big CRMs, then there's great opportunities that you can bring to your clients around that. And if the business is quite administratively driven, then I think there's opportunities to put AI processes in to eliminate a lot of those administrative processes that people are doing. So fundamentally, as a principle, if we're trying to automate 80% of our mundane tasks, or and then people are managing the difficult things that a system can't run, then we're going to get a more efficient business. And I think AI is presenting opportunities to do, to focus on the 80% of repetitive stuff that people do. How do we automate that? Like a CRM, and other pieces of software. How do we automate those things so that the people can do the cleverer stuff?
Yeah.
The stuff that involves more judgment, more assessment.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I think AI is going to have a really big impact on productivity, and obviously productivity is something that businesses want to improve on, and governments as well. If we compare ourselves to other nations, we're not as productive. So hopefully this can be a tool to kind of bring us back up to speed, if you like.
Absolutely, our productivity in the UK has been atrocious for the last 15 years, really.
Yeah.
Compared to others.
Yeah. So hopefully it does help. And I think that what we're seeing is, certainly at the moment, the conversation with our customers is less around removing staff from their business. It's more about augmenting staff, increasing their productivity, and having a more predictable, easier, scalable business. They can see that they can actually just add, bundles of conversations onto their, which are, they know what the price of those are. They can just buy those and bolt them on, so they know, it kind of does make things a bit easier to scale, rather than thinking about, well, at what point will I need another member of staff, and I'll have hiring costs, and I'll have to train them, and how do I retain them, and all those sorts of challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. I read a quote by the chief exec of Itsu, talking about why they have three particular machines in their kitchens of all of their shops. And those three particular machines, they might cost £100,000 to buy, but they don't go on holiday, they don't get sick, they don't cost recruitment fees, and all of those things. And AI is a similar sort of principle. I just think it's the digital version of machines. It's the, potentially the next industrial revolution. I think that revolution might be, 5 to 25 years in the making, but I think, if we look back in 10 to 15 years, we'll see it as having had a remarkable impact on the way we do business.
Yeah.
And the number of people we employ.
What are the key qualities or habits that distinguish successful clients from those who struggle, would you say?
Ooh, another good question. Right, habits, qualities. I think the first thing is to know where you're going. I think, again, it goes back to a Stephen Covey principle. Start with the end in mind. So, understanding what your 5-year objective is, or maybe 10-year objective. Getting clear about what you want to achieve for yourself, with your business, and for the business. That helps. Then you've got a big goal. For me, coaching clients, that's essential, because if I know what the goal is, then I can keep the conversation moving in that direction all the time. So having that goal starts to give us a purpose, and then we can build everything else around that. Habits beyond that, I think consistency is a key habit. I think trying to build systems into your business that allow you to your business to operate in a consistent way, be that your marketing, be that the sales or your delivery, and then as a leader, just being consistent yourself. I think as a leader, business owner, you've got to be a leader. I think building trust, I think if you work around the trust equation in the way you operate and run your business and run your team and look after your customers, you'll do well. You'll do very, very well. And the fundamentals of the trust equation are trust equals credibility times reliability times intimacy, with a divisor of self-orientation or ego, self-interest, whatever you want to call it. So, I think being credible, knowing what you're talking about and talking about it in an authentic way. Credibility is a right brain, left brain assessment when people are looking at you. So, does Ben know what he's talking about, and is he being honest and authentic about it? If he is, and he does, then he's going to score high on credibility. Reliability, does Ben do what he says he's going to do, and do I get a consistent Ben when I go in to see him? And intimacy, can we talk about the difficult stuff?
if you're marketing outbound or sales, you might change that intimacy to likability. Am I, is Ben likable? If it's internal, if it's team, can Ben and I talk about the difficult stuff? So those are all the positives. Then there's a divisor in the equation, which is about your own ego, about your own self-orientation. And if this is all about your success, your results, well, you're not going to build trust. And when you're marketing your business and selling your business, again, we've got to keep our business ego and our personal ego under control. It's got to be about the customer. It's got to be about the client. It's got to be about how they gain, what they're getting out of it, not what we're getting out of it. We have to disappear into the background. So how great we are is irrelevant to the customer. So we've got to, hold our own ego down, and therefore we can build trust with the customer, or we can build trust with the employee and with the team. So I think, the habits around building trust, they're good habits to have in place, and with any habit, I think try and apply it consistently.
What do you think are the key data points, particularly around sales and marketing, that a CRM system could help you with?
If we don't have data, how do we make decisions about what's working? Well, it's finger in the air stuff, isn't it? We kind of feel that's doing all right, I feel that's doing all right, and don't know, are we getting good decision making when we're doing that? Probably not as good as if we're looking and saying, right, okay, well, the data point on this is spent £2,000 on this, we've got £50,000 back. The conversion rates of these stages are 40%, 50%, 20%. Okay, where are we losing most conversions in the funnel? Right, what are we doing there? Okay, why don't we tweak something? What do we think's not working right there, or as well as it could? Let's tweak something in that. Let's measure the output, and we're testing and measuring a change, and that constant process of test and measure, change something, test it gently gently in your process, measure the outcome. If it gives you a better outcome, then okay, let's do it. Let's put that into the system and keep measuring it. I think that's the fundamental of marketing. We need to know how much money are we spending on each campaign and each step of the process. What are our conversions from that? What's our return on investment from each of those? And having a good CRM system which can measure all of that, provided the team use it appropriately and put the data in. The data's got to be good going in, or the data's going to be rubbish coming out. Then that's going to help you make much better decisions in your marketing and sales. It's going to help you stop wasting money on faster on things that aren't working. And I think that's the fundamental principle of one of the dangers of marketing is we've got to spend money on all of these different things of marketing, and we don't know which one's working, but overall it gets us a great result. That's just, for an engineer, that doesn't work in thinking. That doesn't compute in thinking. So right, okay, if we're spending money on campaign A or activity A, what are we getting from it? Activity B, campaign B, what are we getting from it? Once we start to understand what we're getting out of those spends, and we can mark the ROI down on it, and then we can track the different levels and think, okay, how do we improve this? How do we improve that? Make these changes, all from good data coming from CRM, then we're going to get good marketing. Or we're going to get better marketing.
Yeah.
So good data, faster decisions, faster results. That's how I would see it.
Yeah, it's interesting. In all the time that we've been running Performa IT, if I think about our client base, pretty much everybody is growth focused. These are driven clients, driven businesses. They've got that goal and they really want to hit it. They're taking their sales or their marketing really seriously, and that's often the driver as to why they either want to implement a CRM system in the first place because maybe they don't have one. They might have been running on spreadsheets or something else before, or that actually the system that they've got in place at the moment isn't hitting the mark. It's not, maybe it's something that they did in the past half-heartedly. The business has now changed, so the system's not really reflecting what they do anymore. But it's that drive to really push forward that we see.
I think drive to push forward, speed. Business loves speed. I mean, you and I have talked about that before. That's what we've got to do. We've got to make the fastest possible progress in the shortest amount of time. So, get the data, measure what you're doing, lets you ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And CRM will help you, do that on all of your sales and marketing data. So it should improve, provided you do something with it. It should improve the questions you're asking, which should improve the process you're going through, which should improve the results that you're getting out.
Yeah. And I think one of the things is, so long as you've got that, as long as you capture data, even if you haven't thought of it at the time that you implement your system, provided you've got something flexible that you can run reports from of your own design, then as those questions come along, you can drill into that data and get the answers.
Yeah, you can, and it's quite interesting. Just for me as a coach, and part of a worldwide organisation, the UK team sent me my report for last year, and I had a quick look at that, and we go through 3 or 4 stages to get a client where we've got measuring points, and the final stage of me face-to-face meeting with a prospect and converting them to a client, I am ahead of the average in the UK. But the stage before that, of telephone call conversion to a meeting, I'm behind. So that data's telling me, okay, what am I not doing right? That's where that data's telling me that's the piece of my sales process that I need to go and improve. And if we weren't capturing that stuff through our CRMs and centrally as an organisation, I wouldn't know that. So where am I ahead of my peers? One place. Where am I behind my peers? Another place. That's where I need to focus my activity on.
So, Tom, final question here. So, what advice do you give to clients who are hesitant or unsure about integrating AI into their business strategy?
Okay. What advice? So, I think it's a mixed group of clients. Some, like yourself, are very technically orientated, and some are the complete opposite end of the spectrum. As you know, the week before last, we ran a workshop. Part of our quarterly planning workshop, we had a couple of presentations on AI, including one from Sam at Performa, which was great, and one from another client who's adopting AI quite a lot in their business. And we were just having a look at what some of the tools that are out there and how they might be used. And I think generally with clients, my advice would be become aware of what's out there and how it's developing. You don't have to spend masses of time on it if you're not convinced that there's going to be lots of uses. But become aware of some of the tools, and then just have a play. Get in, have a play, and think, okay, how might this help? How can I use ChatGPT, for example, to help me if I want to create content, or if I want to improve the way I'm communicating generally. How can I, what are the tools I can use to, tidy up my writing, tidy up my messaging, or solve other problems around. So, from our perspective, in some of our research, prospecting, we've had to think about what can we do, what can we automate, how can we use ChatGPT to find data for us that takes us a while to find, or that is a laborious process to go through. But I think my sense of it is, as advice to clients, it's become aware of what the options are, and then have a play. And and the early play doesn't cost you any money, and then when you find something that looks like it might work for you, then you've got an investment decision to make, and you've got an idea at that point of what it will be able to do. Don't be frightened of it.
No, no. And I think that what we're seeing a lot of is, people are talking about the fact that what you definitely don't want to do is kind of bury your head in the sand and ignore it, because you just have to bear in mind that your competitors are most likely looking at it, and things move so fast these days in business and technology that there is that risk that you could get left behind and not be able to catch up potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a changing environment, and be aware of that. And at the moment, it's like a tap on the shoulder. You need to be aware of this, and a couple of years' time, that might turn into a piece of 4x2 that's going to smack you around the head. And 5 years from now, it might be a Mack truck, and you completely run over and flattened because you haven't kept up. So, yeah. I think it's worth keeping in touch with what the developments are and thinking about how do we use it, and having some conversations with people who are more in the know about it than you are. Just that would be one piece of advice for me, is just keep checking in with people who are more in the AI space than you are, and see what they know.
Yeah, agreed. And I think there's so much great content out there now. There's obviously, it is a hot topic, and sometimes it's you've got to check where you're getting the information from. But I think the beauty of the internet and all the various podcast platforms that are around, it's quite easy to get access to this.
Yeah, I think so. Be listening. Spend a bit of time, specifically listening to what's going on in the AI space for SMEs. In the case of my clients, I think, I could be wrong, but I think over the next 2 or 3 years we will start to see more specific product